I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite
podcast
on the Citadel.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Accidentally Casual, a podcast that flies away. I am Tucker from I'm Tucker from Talking About Games. I was about to say I'm Tucker from Accidentally Casual, although I am both. With me are my co-hosts Scott from BioWare Babbling.
What's up, nerds?
And Seeker, who is the community person on the Discord.
The community person?
I don't know what the right word is for
I
it.
am the community manager. Acknowledge my title and respect
Community
me.
manager.
So yeah, I was about to say like our community overlord, but you know.
Community
Yeah.
overlord also works, but I do like that in my Twitter bio I've put sparkles around community manager, so it's not community manager, it's community manager. It's sassy.
Yeah, no,
Fair.
okay, yeah, no. Check
Because
out.
it means that I'm not bound to, like, you know, I still can swear and shout and be a fangirl all I like in the Discord chat, and no one expects me to do too much, except for like occasionally arrange things for the Destiny clan.
Oh yeah, so how's that Destiny clan thing going? Like,
Oh, it's going so well. Okay, I have a quick.
that
story
just
to
started,
tell.
right?
Yeah, it started now. So it's the Accidentally Casual. It's just called Accidentally Casual, so you can find us if you look for us if you want to join the clan. Shoot us a message on the Discord just so we know who you are, because obviously we want it to be kind of our community. It's going really well. We went, a group of us went just doing some strikes and things, and after we were done, we went to the hub world, which is known as the Tower. And we're mostly just dicking around, like doing emotes and stuff. And there's a new emote they've added called the conga. It's conga dancing, but 3 people can join in. So one person starts it, and 2 people can join on top of that. Mm-hmm. Now we were dicking around, doing all this, I was trying to conga with Noni Baloney, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, it was not letting my character do it. So I was getting frustrated. Then another person came in and joined our little band of chaos, and was able to be in the middle of a sandwich between Noni Baloney and our lovely Jacob Visceral Justice in the chat, and who does a lot of art and stuff and is fantastic. And Jacob immediately got pinged with a message from the person in the middle called Scarecrow UwU, saying, "I love the way you hold me." Because let me tell you, there's some tender hip holding going on in this conga dance. So immediately we all like swarm around this person and we're like, "Oh, they're great." And then I send them a friend request. They immediately accept the friend request, and then I notice they don't have a clan. So bear in mind we're all in the voice chat, so everyone's immediately like, "We get him to join the clan, get him to join the clan." So I'm like, "Oh, this is great, I'll get him to join the clan." There's no way he'll say yes. Within 10 seconds he'd accepted. I was like, "Oh no, what have I done?" So then we decided to go all do some PvP stuff together, and we're terrible. Like, we're all like freely admitting this over the chat, save for like the Inquisitor. Like he was better than the rest of us, but we're all just awful. And all except for Mr. Scarecrow UwU, and then suddenly we're all saying, "Come on, guys! We need to pick ourselves up and do it for UwU!" And like suddenly we're all just like back and forth, and we were just elevated. Bear in mind, Mr. Port UwU can't hear any of this, as we're basically memifying the fuck out of this poor person who can't hear what we're saying. And we're like, "Come on, he's the best of us. We need to be better."
Please tell me we've invited this person to the Discord.
We did, but they declined to join the Discord. So
okay.
They are in our app chat on the Destiny app. But halfway through, I'm laughing my head off, and I'm saying, "You know what I need to do? I need to make a for Frodo meme, but for UwU." And I did. I posted it in the chat, and it got 5 likes because, of course, only 5 of us, well, 6 total, understood the fucking joke or why we were laughing so hard about it. But yeah, it was.
Wait,
just,
where did you share it? Where did you share it?
Hang on, I'll post it in our thing very quickly.
Okay.
Let me find it, because it was great. And yeah, so other than that, it's been going really well. But that was the most memorable thing that's happened so far, and obviously we're very amused by it.
Nice.
There it is.
Very
I
nice.
just posted it.
Ooh, woo.
And now the accepted thing has been like our battle cry is going to be a woo.
How many people are in the clan?
At the moment, let me check.
Okay.
It is clan 10, I think. Yeah, 10.
Okay. I will be joining the clan very soon.
Whoop.
I've been wanting to do it. I just haven't gotten it yet, so if people want to harass me, if you know who I am on the Discord, yeah, harass me, and I will get to it. Just I need enough people.
I can harass you. I'm a one-woman harassment when it comes to come and play with us on Destiny because it's fun. And,
Okay.
it's also fun because I haven't been playing Destiny for that long, but because my fiance's been playing it, I've been aware of the whole story for Destiny for about the last 4-ish years. So and I did play a little bit before that. So because I knew I was going to marry this man because I said, oh, I don't have a PlayStation at the time because of course the point was to play together when we weren't living together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't have a PlayStation. I can't really afford to just fork out for one. So he's like, oh, don't worry, I've got a spare one. I was like, okay. Have a look at the games, just see if there's anything else you want to play. I'm like, okay. And I'm looking through the games and I'm like, holy fuck, PT's on here. You just get... And I was just like, oh my god. And I was trying to explain to my mother how big a deal it was that he just gave me a PlayStation with PT on it. Like it was no big deal. I was like, did you just give me a PS4 with PT installed on it? Yes, I did. And yes, and now I'm marrying him, so yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever want to know how you get a woman's heart, you get them a PlayStation with their favorite game in it. Unless it's
I've
Halo.
been playing some backwards compatible games recently. Like I've been playing Dead Space. I just recently beat going through Call of Duty World at War and Gears of War 2.
Ooh, they have those on. Ooh, they have reverse
The
compatible
maximum
now.
gunmetal grey and muddy brown.
Yeah, but Gears of War was fun. I really like the reload mechanic. How it's not just hit the button to reload, that you have that little quick time event to, if you hit it at the right time, that you have like pretty much not overpowered, but improved bullets.
Oh god, just thinking about the whole story I told about a woo thing, I'm kind of morally obligated now to put the podcast in the chat. Just like, oh, by the way, we were talking about you throughout this. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you are morally obligated to do that.
Yeah.
But I've been playing with some of the backwards compatible games because the next, like, in a month, that's when all the new games are going to be. Like, all the new AAA games are coming out. Starting with.
Oh yeah, I mean, speaking of like AAA releases, we do have the Sony thing in what, like, when is the Sony thing dropping? Sony Showcase.
Which Sony thing?
Sony's press event.
Sony.
Oh.
It is Thursday, September 9th. So 3 days from now, and it's supposed to be focusing on all the PlayStation owned studios. So that's Naughty Dog, Guerrilla, Santa Monica, Insomniac. Also, the Alan Wake remake leaked because it was put on like a Taiwanese retailer or something, but that seems to be coming for PS4 and 5 for those Alan Wake fans out there. I know there's a bunch of them that are just like die-hard Alan Wake fans.
And the ones that aren't are Alan fakes.
What?
Boo.
There's also a rumored Metal Gear Solid remake, so we'll see how solid that is. But
Boo! Surrounded by punsters.
Tucker can't be allowed to be the one person who has the entire domain of shitty puns. And that wasn't even intentional. I only realised what I'd said after I'd said it.
Sure, a very likely story.
A likely story. And there was
I
something
just
else.
like
there's,
puns. Puns are very enjoyable jokes. Like
there's
there was one time
supposedly-
a joke competition, and I sent in 10 puns to try to see if any of them would win.
And?
Well, sadly, when it came to winning, no
They
pun
did not.
intended.
Either way, there's also supposedly a From Software PS5 exclusive that isn't like a Bloodborne, a Souls, or a Sekiro or anything like that. Apparently, that's like a new IP. There's also apparently The Last of Us Factions, which is like a Battle Royale style Last of Us game, which I don't know who wants. But if you do want it, more power to you. Yeah.
Might be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Said
I'm sure
a
it
battle
was-
royale style Last of Us game.
Yeah,
think, yeah.
considering that when someone data mined Last of Us 2 and they found like a map and assets that were, would mostly be used in a battle royale context.
I've had an idea, just kind of bipping about in my head sometimes, of a battle royale game in the BioShock universe.
I think
And-
Really interesting. Especially as like between Columbia and Rapture, you've got a lot of very varied.
Well, the map would be
Yeah.
the map idea was Rapture, and you playing as not the either a splicer or just some of the characters that are just running around, and
I
the
don't
way
play
that
Little Sister.
the way that the map would shrink would be parts of Rapture getting flooded with water, and you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
make it out to places as they start sealing up.
I think one thing that would make it even cool is if you could
Could have a Big
seal
Daddy outfit.
like if you could seal bulkheads and like doors behind you. So
Yeah.
and then like
And then you could like
instead of
lock
like
in other players.
well not only that but just like also at the same time like you could like because most of the time in battle royales the circle that keeps on shrinking is it's the same size but it always just shrinks. It would be great if it was like uneven.
This is a maze, so it's just however the water goes, and if people shut off valves in certain ways, it can flood other parts.
Yeah, or flood other parts, or like they can stop other parts from flooding, so like it's technically almost like uneven a little bit as it's like closing in. That would be fun. Ooh. I like that idea.
Yeah? There's also, how you're talking about some remakes, a bunch of information came out about the Dead Space remake. And I'm so excited for this. They are fixing definitely the biggest issue with the original Dead Space is that Isaac doesn't talk.
Yeah.
And
Really?
Kind of the
It's-
point.
well, it's really weird how it's like he's searching for when he's on the Ishimura. Not only is he trying to escape, he's trying to find his wife,
Nicole, yeah.
Nicole, who's on the ship too. And there is a part of the game where he comes across her, and she yells at him. It's like, Isaac, oh my God, is it really you? I've missed you, and he's just staring.
Yeah.
It's like,
Don't get me
would
wrong,
you
can
not be
animate that a
saying
little bit
something?
more.
So they said
Well,
that
Tucker, not
they,
everyone is you. Some people get surprised and don't talk.
or well, he'd also watch like a beast absolutely rip apart this guy who was with him for his missions or something. He was like part of his crew, and Isaac's just like staring at the wall, just doing nothing. But so Gunnar Wright is coming back and voicing him, but they are setting strict guidelines.
Yeah,
That
that
Isaac
makes
is only going to talk when he is spoken to, or in a
That's
moment
fine.
where it is super weird being silent.
Yeah.
That
And
makes more sense.
They also might add. Oh, they're probably gonna also add a lot of like I can't remember what there's a technical name for it, but it's like screams, like exaggerated breaths, things like that.
Oh, there's already a lot of that in the game. Like, I was when replaying through Dead Space, there's never there's never a quiet moment in Dead Space.
Oh,
You may be walking through the Ishimura and there'll be little creaks or something, and then you hear just a scream in the background. And it'll be like a human scream.
Bad place.
And, like, it is so nerve-wracking.
I think the Ishimura is still the best setting they've ever done for the franchise.
And part of the remake is that the Ishimura is going to be kind of like the new God of War. There's going to be no transitions. It's going to be seamless. There's going to be no cuts.
All right, that makes sense.
And the camera will...
Because they're always kind of going for that, especially with the, you can't really pause it kind of features they were trying to implement. They couldn't quite do it 100% because you could just push it.
Like going from tram to area. They still had to load some of the stuff in. But, yeah. So they're doing that. They're also expanding the game itself. They are adding more to the narrative of Isaac looking for Nicole, and they're going to add some cut content.
Like, expanding. So that's good.
And they're also adjusting some of the things so it fits more with the Dead Space universe, like some of the narrative that they built with it. So
yeah, and then they had to retcon. It's just it totally was this all the time.
But the biggest, Dead Space is a horror game, so you gotta focus on the enemies. And the necromorphs, their models are they are completely reworked. Flesh and stuff will be able to be torn off, depending on what gun you're using. Like, if you're using the plasma cutter, it will cut off their arms and legs and so on. But it cuts off where you're aiming, not in specific segments, like not only at the knee or only at the torso. It will be where you are aiming. And if you are using the machine gun or something like that, it doesn't slash off limbs. It just does damage like that. It will actually tear off skin from the legs, the stomach, stuff like that, exposing bone. And they say that the point of it is so if someone is using one of those weapons, that they'll see maybe pretty much all the stomach is gone and the one arm is just bone, but it's still coming at you.
Mm-hmm. Gross.
It just sounds so... I am so exciid for it.
Oh, yeah.
It just sounds beautiful.
Bear in mind, I love horror, but just there's a lot of... I think there's people who... There's people who love horror as a broad genre, and then there's the people that love all the gory slasher stuff. And I quite like some gore every now and again, but that just seems really excessive to me.
It feels like it fits within the world. It will make the necromorphs feel like these just unstoppable.
I suppose
it is cut
as
off the
violent
limbs.
as you want it to be, because you don't.
It's also
have to
cut off the limbs. That is the thing of Dead Space. Is you when you pick up audio logs or stuff around the area, there'll be people screaming of cut off their limbs, shooting them doesn't work, cut off their limbs. They're
don't shoot in the head, shoot in the limbs, which is a nice sort of it was the first sort of subversion of the zombie genre, because everything else was just
headshot.
Zombies.
Well, zombie, you take out the brain.
Yeah.
While in Dead Space, you can shoot.
Okay.
You can shoot their head off, and they will still be coming at you, arms a swinging.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I will say, I do love it as a mechanic. However, for me, it's a little hard to believe. It's crazy to think just how bulletproof they are. That.
To be honest, they're weird alien zombies that have mutated out of the corpses of humans. So I'm not really gonna question it too much.
I mean, like, that's fair, but it's like, it's more the, oh yeah.
I just think they're neat.
I mean, that. But it's mostly for me, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, in kind of knowing what bullets actually does to soft tissue, it's just like...
Especially, like, laser pew-pew.
Well, yeah, if you're talking about, like, well, yeah, future guns where the projectiles go even faster, like, honestly, the biggest problem might be is it might be going too cleanly through. Like, and that would make sense, especially if there's, necromorphs don't really have internal organs or anything like that to deal with, so you're just putting a clean hole through them. So.
Well, the thing that's kind of cool about Dead Space's weapons are they aren't really weapons.
Tools.
Yeah, they're more of repurposed mining tools to just keep Isaac alive.
Well, no, I know that, but I'm talking about, like, the machine gun and things like that.
I think that the machine gun is the pulse rifle is the only actual gun.
Yeah.
Like, the other things,
and
there's a boom gravity type gun. There's a rivet gun that fires giant nails.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's like a flamethrower.
Mm-hmm.
And the flamethrower doesn't work in the space parts, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. You need oxygen. There ain't a lot of it.
I know some people who got so sick just during trying to do the anti-grav bits. Just had to just hand over the controller to someone else and leave the fucking room.
Oh, that's something that they are redoing.
Yeah, I'm sure they're redressing that.
They are... In Dead Space 2, it had much more of like a freedom 0G. Like, you just kind of started floating and could move around. Rather than that weird jump thing, and they're reworking Dead Space 1 to have the 0G mechanic in Dead Space 2.
It was funny because when I played Dead Space, I still haven't played 2. I'm aware of 2, and I just for some reason didn't play 2. But what I did play after Dead Space was Portal 2, which, funny enough, actually had like kind of similar-ish, like, capitalism is a nightmare, and just a hellscape that is that. But one of my favourite moments in gaming is in Portal 2, where you're just like, oh no, I have nowhere to put a portal, and then you look up and you see the moon, you're like, hang on a second, I think I do.
Can I pull off the bullshit? Boop. Yeah, I can.
Just like, especially the way that the camera just sort of guides you towards, like, there's the moon. Hope you paid attention to what all the white walls are made of.
Portal 2, I think, may be my favorite game. Unravel is there, but Portal 2 is like a close second.
Yeah, Portal is pretty friggin' perfect.
But something that I remember with Portal 2, and this is something that games just don't really do anymore, on the PC version of it, I don't know if it was on the Xbox or PlayStation version, but on the PC version of Portal 2, in the extras menu, there was a game demo kind of thing for that movie, like Super 8 or something. It was the movie with the kids that were filming a train that they were filming the thing.
That's Super 8,
Yeah. There's like a demo of that in Portal 2.
Huh.
There was just like a little advertisement for the game.
Nice.
And that confused me. Because, like, I don't know. That's just something I wasn't expecting to see. And games used to do that. Like, Halo CE had a demo with Fusion Frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be those game CD things that were just like 20 packs of demos, like Jam Pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just don't need, like, games are so big, and like the sheer volume of people who have a games console in their home of some description has just shot up exponentially. So it's not like a thing where you have to sort of, here's a free game, or here's a free couple of games on a demo disc, go play them.
I mean, the industry
I
itself
feel sorry
has
for the poor kids that have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. Just like,
the industry
who
itself
did
has
this?
just drastically changed so much. Like demos. We've gotten rid of demos. Demos are no longer really a thing. They're now called betas, and like that's just how they've progressed, and that's a kind of a bit of a beneficial thing.
Depends on the game, really.
Well,
I'm
I mean,
so
just
sorry.
because demos took away. I mean, so do creating
they took away
betas.
dev time from the actual game to
But-
make the demo.
Yeah, with betas, they're at least able to collect data and do things like that, while demos, like the Modern Warfare 2 demo that would allow you to replay the cliffhanger mission, or
Yeah.
There's also the whole early access thing, because I've been playing the Baldur's Gate 3 is early access currently, and it's been amazing to see how drastically they've been able to improve parts of the game and add big chunks to it. Bear in mind, they're still saying like, oh, we want to make sure that when we release it, it feels like a big deal, so we're holding back a lot of content and features, obviously, because it's still only mostly like 2-ish areas, whereas like you've got the big Mind Flayer ship, and then you've got the area on the coast that you can explore. But it's still, there's so many intricacies in the quests and the different ways you can complete them, and just I was just tremendously impressed with it, to be honest.
there's another thing. That is, Crusader Kings 3 is coming to Xbox, and Seeker. I know you have played a lot of Crusader Kings 3.
I have. It's tremendous.
Scott,
fun.
have you?
No,
I'm
have not.
eagerly awaiting the Royal Court DLC, which is coming soon.
So what is Crusader Kings?
So Crusader Kings is a
It's a 4X game,
I think it's a 4X game, yeah. But
which
it's
is
a,
explore, expand,
top-down
exploit, and
strategy.
exterminate.
It's a strategy game, and it puts all the real world history in it, and you've got to, and you can. Part of the appeal for me is just wildly fucking with history, and you can tweak it sometimes. Like if you go into the settings, you can tweak it to be like, oh, female heirs as a majority. So that's fun. Just have majority female heirs in Europe. Obviously, that wasn't historically accurate, but it's fun to just fuck with history sometimes. Like I tend to play civilizations that have religions where they're very warlike, because it means you have to spend less resources to go to war with whoever you want. And as someone who fundamentally is like, I don't want to be like an assassin or a sneaky. I mostly want to make shit tons of money and go to war with everyone I can get my hands on that I can win. And that's just, it's so fun to just conquer most of, because there's no American continent, but there is obviously Europe, most of.
Well, because this is in
most of Asia.
What time does it take place in?
You can pick between about 4 different timelines. So there's like the 900s, the 1100s, the 1300s. I think that's it. 700s, 900s, 1100s, and 1300s. So you can see the map vastly change between in technology and different things. And they've added a bunch of cultures. There's also a DLC for the Scandinavians to be a bit more accurate to the terms and the cultures and the rights of the religious rights they had. And it's just so much fun. And if strategy games aren't your thing, it might be a little dry. But what makes it so engaging is the game is so often just trying to fuck you up. Like you can have this whole plan of like, oh, I've got my dynasty and it's totally being set up, and I've got my kid, and then like your kid will be like, oh, either like. Because sexuality is also a thing in this game. Like, one of my first playthroughs, I married a man, and I was just like, because I was playing a female character, so I was just like, I want to have heirs, so I married this guy, and I was trying to romance him, because I was just like, okay, I'll try and romance him, so I actually have a good relationship with him. And turned out I went to go burst into the bedroom and profess my love, and found him in bed with another man, and I was like, great. I had another one where my player heir was sterile. So like, this isn't gonna work, you gotta go. Gonna be someone else. The amount that the RNG stuff can just fuck with you is great, because it really keeps you on your toes, because sometimes you can have other nations declare war on you, or send assassins after you, or blackmail you for lovers you have, or something. I once managed to convert the Pope to witchcraft and seduce him at like the ripe old age of 70 something. I think it was
As you do.
That was glorious.
As you do.
But yeah, it's just there's lots of variety depending on what culture you start off with. Like you can if you start conquering like Ireland, or if you start in Ireland, you can just try and take over the whole of the UK, which as Ireland is fucking great. It's just like, I'm so sorry. Yeah, they're just fucking with England is generally a very wise move.
It's made by Paradox Interactive, and they've made
which is
other.
Great. Paradox are great because they're one of the very few publishers that are going for like what I call like the mid-tier games. So they're above the funding of like indie games, but they're not shooting for like the big AAA nonsense stuff. Like they're going for stuff like Greedfall or Crusader Kings, stuff that has like a limited budget but a rather like niche.
I think they usually call those AA games. Usually.
AA games.
Yes.
But I'm looking forward to their one that's coming out. I think it's called. What's it called? What is it called? You play as Marie Antoinette's like porcelain robot bodyguard, and I'm just like, oh, I need that, because it's the same people who made Greedfall, and I can't remember what it's called. Where is it? Oh, come on. Oh, it's messing with me now. Come on. But every single time I've played like a Paradox game, I've been either impressed or just very happy with what I got.
I've played Empire of Sin. They also
Empire
did
of Sin's so good.
City Skylines, right?
I've been
that one's just
running around 1912 Chicago with an entire army of women, just gunning down Al Capone. It's been fucking great.
Yeah, when I played that one, I can't remember specifically who I played. They're also supposed to be making Vampire
the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which is like indefinitely on hold, which is...
Yeah, what's going on with that game? Because that game takes place in Seattle, so I care about it.
What isn't happening with that game? Basically, it got delayed fairly with like the COVID stuff, but then they started like hemorrhaging creatives, and it's like, oh, that seems decidedly not good. What's going on? And we haven't had an update for it in ages. It's like, okay, we'll just be here waiting. And it was such a shame because they put out that really great trailer that looked super creepy and perfect.
There's been a few trailers for it.
Only really the one. The one that was like fairly story. And the thing that was super disappointing was that they did this great what's it called when they have like ARG, where they had this great ARG build up because they had an app release called Tender, and if you're in it, it was like, oh, it's a dating app, but it's asking questions like, what's your blood type? And when picking your interests, it was like, are you into the occult and vampires and werewolves and stuff? Bear in mind, at this point, it had no reference overtly to Vampire the Masquerade, but people cottoned onto it pretty fucking quickly. And they did a big reveal at this event they had when ARG came to a close, where this guy got sicked on by a load of vampires, quote unquote. And it was just a load of fun. And they had a load of they had the writers there, and they had the original writer of the original game, and now he's left, and it's like, what the hell is going on over there? But I really hope they manage to pull it through. But it's just at the moment it's just in limbo because no one knows what's going on.
Ooh, something that was just kind of announced a bit. If you're a fan of South Park, they just got a whole bunch of deals. And I'm a big fan of South Park. Like they got deals for new movies, and the South Park movies are like the 3-part episodes, like Imagination Land or things like that. And they get a bunch of those, as well as they're getting a new game.
Which
And
the games have been
Stick of Truth
on point.
Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole were phenomenal. I got all the achievements in both of them. And
That's just you, Tucker.
well, I did it for Stick of Truth twice because there was a remastering kind of thing for it.
Of course.
And so I did it twice there, and then Fractured Butthole. South Park is so... those games were phenomenal because they felt like you were actually playing an episode. Like, it wasn't difficult to get the animation to look like the show.
No.
And it was the same humor, same as everything. And so they just said, there's a thing that just came up. There was 2 new South Park movies are set to arrive before the end of 2021. I'm just super excited about that.
As you do. A lot of I did enjoy South Park, but so much of it has just been because they claim to say we laugh at everyone, right? But they they seem to take the piss out of people on the left or queer people just consistently a bit more viciously, and it just started to sour me after a while. The one episode I was really impressed and invested in, and they don't seem to have done anything similar since, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't watched it in about a year or two, but was the episode where Wendy spends the entire episode trying to convince people that they shouldn't, convince the girls in particular, they shouldn't Photoshop their photos because people have flaws, and presenting this perfect Photoshopped image isn't healthy, and everyone just accuses her of being jealous, and she's trying to say look, this is ridiculous, it's not healthy, and at the end of the episode she just cries while she ends up photoshopping her photos because she just gives up. And I was like, that's heartbreaking. And they really...
South Park has had some...
Yeah, I know it's had some moments, but that was a specifically female targeted I don't want to say trauma per se, but anxiety. That was a very female focused anxiety, and outside of that they haven't really targeted, not at least that I've witnessed.
I don't know specifically
female anxieties that much before.
I don't know about specifically for female stuff of that, but there was one that was of Butters when he was crying because he got his heart broken or something like that, and the goth kids came up to him and they were talking to him about, life sucks, doesn't it? Because look at how you're crying and all this stuff. And Butters is like, yeah, I hurt now, but that just means that the moments that I felt good, that those were genuine because I'm feeling bad about. So now I'm like, Butters.
Because Butters is a special boy who deserves to be in a fairy universe, to be honest.
But
Yeah,
the worst.
The direction they were taking him in the last time I was watching. I think that made me stop watching, to be honest.
The worst culprit for just breaking your heart is Futurama.
I mean, Fry's dog is just legendary in terms
That
of just immediately making everyone
so. I mean, yes, that dog one is that one is tip top. But there's some of the ones with Fry and Leela, and the one with the 4-leaf clover or 7-leaf clover or whatever. How many it was something of that. His brother, the one where he sees his mom in her dream or something like that and hugs her and says goodbye.
Yeah, 'cause he never got to say goodbye.
Oh my god, that show.
Tell you what, for the thing that just emotionally destroyed me, in the best way, because it's a thing that it tells its story, it's finite, it comes to a satisfying conclusion, but my god, the last episode wrecked me, was Haunting at Hill House. And if you haven't seen
Which season isn't? Oh no, wait.
That's the first one. Haunting of Bly Manor was the second one.
Ah, right. Okay.
Bly Manor is also fantastic. It's a very different type of horror, but because it's more like it's very English, very old school, like the ghosts and the lingering threat of death rather than the impending doom, as it were. But with Hill House, because it's all about this family's trauma of dealing with this tragedy that just wrecked all their lives, and them coming to terms with it, and by the time the final episode happens, and then I don't want to spoil too much because it's so good, and if you have any interest in it, please go watch it because it's wonderful. It's one of the best shows I've seen, full stop. I'm very interested in seeing Midnight Mass when it comes out, which is made by Mike Flanagan, who did Bly Manor and Hill House. But it's so good. It's so good. So please go see it, especially since spooky season is nearly upon us. So yeah, if anyone wants to crack out Hill House, please do so with my blessing.
Are there any upcoming horror movies or anything scary?
Candyman!
Well, yes, but are there... The Conjuring 3 came out, and I had no idea.
Oh, I tell you what, like, really came out of left field for me and surprised me, because I had no idea what it was, but when I watched it, it was two things, actually. Run on Netflix, which is amazing. It's Sarah Paulson, who's in like American Horror Story, and a new actress. She's only been in like 2 things, but she's actually a wheelchair user, and the whole point of her character is that she's a girl who's in a wheelchair, and she starts to suspect her mum is giving her medication that she shouldn't, and it's a thriller, and it just spirals from there. And the reason I loved it so much is because the main character in it, she's so smart. She's so smart. Every single time she does something, if you're confused by it, you're like, what is she doing? But then she comes up with like this great solution to this problem she was trying to overcome, and you're just really rooting for this girl because it's like, come on, you can do it. And it's fantastic. So Run on Netflix. The other one is it's very out there, and I think it's sort of, the last episode got a little muddled, but it's very strong up until that point, is a Brand New Cherry Flavor. It's very out there. But,
brand new cherry flavor.
Brand New Cherry Flavor. It's about a girl who goes to LA with an indie movie she made, and this producer kind of steals it out from under her, and she wants revenge, and that's kind of what kicks off the whole plot. But it really goes to some weird places, things I was not expecting at all. So like every episode I was like, what the, like, you know, when you're like, okay, I think it's moving towards this sort of direction, but every single time I would think, oh, it's heading towards this, it would go wildly off into something else. So if anything, for like the emotional like loop-de-loops you end up going through, just be like, what the hell is going on? It's great.
There is Halloween Kills coming out.
Yes, and the last one was great, so I'm very keen to see Halloween Kills.
Oh, I'm so the trailer for Halloween Kills looks
so good.
Insane. I'm so excited for that, and I really hope that there's like a skin for that coming out for Dead by Daylight.
I'm sure there is.
And also tomorrow, because this podcast comes out on Monday, Pinhead is now coming out to Dead by Daylight. That's gonna be fun.
I love how you were like when you first were like, oh yay, Pinhead's coming to Dead by Daylight, and you're just like, did you know that the whole of the Hellraiser franchise is about BDSM? I was like, you don't fucking say.
Yeah. But when the lore for Pinhead isn't that the entity took him into the realm, Pinhead just kind of strolled in.
No, honestly, it's one of those things where it's contradicted itself so many times with shitty.
Dead by Daylight is awesome with its lore.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm not besmirching Dead by Daylight at all. I'm just talking about the terrible movie sequels. I think
I think this is supposed to be like maybe Pinhead, like the first movie Pinhead, or something.
I guess, yeah.
So like this Pinhead, none of the other movies or anything.
Maybe they reached out to Clive Barker and was just like, "What would you say his backstory is?"
But
yeah,
he
pieced the fuck out after a while. Obviously.
In the realm, because the realm is all about torturing people and the entity feeds off of pain and all that stuff, and Pinhead just kind of strolled and was like, yeah, I'm gonna chill here for a bit. This place is looking kind of nice. Which is why his Mori, like the kill for Pinhead, doesn't actually kill the person. It pulls them into his realm instead. Like, they get a bunch of hooks come out and actually grab the survivors and pull at their skin. And, like,
it was so funny
their
watching...
Mori looks wild.
Yeah.
And then a stick comes out of the ground and chains wrap around them, and the pole goes back into the ground with the person screaming, and you're just like, oof.
Yikes. I tell you what was really weird, because I'm such a big Deep Space Nine fan, was then watching Hellraiser, like, that's Garrick! Oh god, why? Because he plays a very bad man in that. Well, he starts off playing like just, a very normal dude, and then he gets taken over by a very bad dude. It's not a fun time for him.
But Scott wants to talk about Mass Effect.
All right, fine. So the biggest news that's come out recently about Mass Effect is from Jeff Grubb, who he was the one that leaked out that, well, the Mass Effect Legendary Edition was actually a thing. He has come out with a new leak saying that the next Mass Effect game is going to be coming out on the Unreal Engine. So, I have some thoughts on this. It does raise a few questions for me. One, like, when it comes to Jeff Grubb, anything, like, he does have a pretty good track record. I don't know, and you guys can chime in if you guys know. I don't know how many things that he has reported on, leaks-wise, that came out false.
I don't know his track record well enough.
I don't know if he has anything. I really don't. I don't think it's as extensive as like Jason Schreier's work, but I mean, even still, most of his stuff about Mass Effect has been pretty spot on. One thing that does kind of pop into mind with me when I see that, they're using Unreal Engine to make Mass Effect, I pretty much think that there's no hope that there's going to be an Andromeda 2. I think that pretty much...
No, that was very, like, bridges burned. Everyone else has moved on to other projects and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I would have loved to see the storyline continue, shy of, I don't know, maybe picking it up further down the line, like, very further down the line, it was pretty much...
I mean, there may be a book, some more things about it.
Yeah.
They may, their focus may simply just be this next Mass Effect, and then just be we'll see from here.
Yeah, I mean,
if this one does well, then they might do another sequel. If this does really well, then they may poke again with Andromeda if the community is calling for that. Like,
yep, that's
BioWare
fair,
is
but
in so much need of a win.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I feel like the remastering, the Legendary Edition, was a good win.
And what was a win before that? Because
Dragon Age Inquisition. That was their last win.
Inquisition won Game of the Year. Yeah, that is correct. But
was there news with the Legendary Edition that it was like the most that like the peak Mass Effect has been played or something?
It wouldn't surprise me.
I'm not quite sure about
it was
that,
it was peaking things on Steam. Like it was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean.
But basically, it was. They were saying that it really outsold expectations. So whatever EA thinks however much they think people are willing to fork out for Mass Effect, they clearly wildly underestimated it. So he's hoping they take it a bit more seriously in terms of what they're willing to actually fork out for in the future. So,
I hope so. I hope so too. Though the one thing I'm curious on is, so one of the things is that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to at least the history with BioWare and Frostbite is that BioWare started experimenting with Frostbite all the way back before, like in 2010-ish. So this was before Mass Effect 3 had come out. And
well, wasn't that when EA basically mandated that all the new games had
so
to
they
use
have never
Frostbite?
so EA has never mandated that you have to use Frostbite. During the time, and the source where this is coming from is Jason Schreier's book, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and he talks about the development of Dragon Age Inquisition, which was essentially BioWare's first dive into Frostbite. During that time, BioWare was looking for a better engine, because the engine that they were working on...
They had to update at that point.
Yeah, they had to do it...
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were in the market of looking at one, and mind you, it's hard for us because when we think of BioWare and Frostbite, we think of, while Inquisition was good, you can't say it was just good. It would, you can't really say that about a game that got, one Game of the Year. But then we also have Andromeda and Anthem, So you have to almost cast that out for a moment and think about it this way. At the time, the pitch was for Frostbite was, it's a super powerful engine that can do a lot of cool stuff. Look at this entire franchise. Or look at the Battlefield franchise and look what all it can do with it. It is owned by EA, so you don't have to pay royalties or anything like that, which does save you a big chunk of change.
And they still couldn't manage to get any decent hair options. ITs.
No. It's I'm getting to that.
There were like 6 different types of bald. Let's be honest.
I'm getting to that. But the fact that as well is that you could share, if multiple projects were all on the same engine, you could be able to share assets and essentially be more collaborative and stuff. Probably the most successful use of this type of collaboration was probably with the people who do Need for Speed made the Nomad in Mass Effect Andromeda, which is why it handles so phenomenally well, is because it was made by a team who do racing games.
Cars, yeah. It was
so on paper, and mind you, ignore Anthem, ignore Mass Effect Andromeda, and we'll ignore some of the technical issues in Inquisition. Those are really powerful arguments if you're talking about on the scale, on the big business scale. Mm-hmm. Except then they've discovered, oh wait, none of this stuff is built for making RPGs. Or doing hair assets, for example, or character creator, or anything like that. So, a lot of people don't realize that Inquisition was in development for a pretty long time. Like it was in development for 5 years, because they were experimenting with Frostbite at the time and just had to jump through a bunch of hurdles. And the big crazy thing is, it's been since 2010 since they have had, they've been using Frostbite. It does not feel like they have mastered it yet. And it's been almost 11 years.
Yeah.
And Frostbite's been good for first-person shooters.
Well, yeah,
it works well with Battlefield.
Yeah. It just doesn't suit BioWare's.
And all the things I described that were really good on paper have not come to fruition, where between projects there have been very minimal assets have been shared, like I think the most substantial assets that has been shared is
The handsy spider.
Why'd you have to remind me of that?
Handsy spider. Because if I have to remember it, then someone else has to.
Oh, I had it cast it out of my mind.
What of what? A what
Okay,
spider?
so they put out like a you know when they do those announcement things for video games where it's mostly just the devs talking and maybe like a handful of assets that you can't really point too much to
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, so one of the things they had was like a very early rig of a spider, like just imagine like a standard video game
Like Shelob.
spider,
Yeah.
but it had a pair of like human hands sort of attached to it and in front of it, and it was sort of like wriggling its fingers. Like, it was a weird looking thing to look at.
Yeah.
I love it because now I'm imagining like it playing the kazoo.
I love it.
But yeah, it was one of those things that just
Like the way that
it
you
was
said
like,
it's wiggling its hands in front of it, the first thing that came to my mind was it playing a kazoo.
It's kind of a running gag for the Dragon Age fandom that we're all arachnophobes, because especially for the for Dragon Age Origins, if like me you started with the Mage Origin, you had to go into a certain area and these spiders dropped from the ceiling. Now that's not so bad in a standard video game where they're sort of off in the distance and you can like shoot at them or fight them or whatever, but because they're dropping it from on high and it's a third person camera, they're dropping right in front of your fucking face.
Yeah.
And it's been a very good indicator that even when entering, there was a mission in Inquisition where you go into essentially a fear dimension where a fear demon is waiting for you, and it releases a load of fears at you that all look different for each character that's in there. But they're all spiders for the player character, and one of them is named, bear in mind they're all named at like fear of abandonment, fear of drowning, or God knows what, but one of them is just ironically spiders. Ironically spiders.
Yeah. But anyway, back on to the topic. So one of the big issues that again has come out, so they haven't been able to share assets. They've had to make everything from scratch, and really pretty much all the stuff that in most engines comes pretty standard issue with for like RPG makers, wasn't in Frostbite. They had to do it, by scratch, even stuff that's standard issue in most other game engines. So pretty much, and then one of the other biggest issues was there are Frostbite engineers who mainly their main job is to work with the other groups within EA's umbrella to work on the Frostbite engine, and they were never sent over to BioWare, who needed the help the most. They always were sent to FIFA or Madden or some of what they saw.
Those games that look exactly the fucking same and play the fucking same every single year they come out.
Yeah, except for those microtransactions.
Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, so it just really hasn't panned out, and it still doesn't feel like they have gotten a really good lock on it so far.
It's such a shame because there's so many bits of concept art that I'm just like, I want to play in whatever this is. I want to live in whatever this is. Like obviously some locations we can reasonably assume what they are and where they are and who's going to be visiting them. But oh god, just give it to me. And the more they tease us with it, the more it's just like. And also the fact that they, the EA thing, they were just like, oh, there's going to be no Dragon Age. It's like, are you kidding me?
Oh yeah. Well, that's
what do we have to do to get more Dragon Age?
That's the one thing I'm actually curious on. It kind of does make sense with BioWare to go with Mass Effect, because especially if they're making a sequel for the original trilogy, which seems to be the direction that they're going. It would make sense that they would go with Unreal, because the original trilogy was made on Unreal. They can just make it with a, I don't know if
But
they'll be
apparently
using like
Dragon Age is
Unreal
still being
4,
made
for
with
example,
Frostbite,
which
so.
really is almost probably it's pretty close, or at least probably close enough for government work to Frostbite in terms of power. So, I mean, that would be probably pretty good for them. But at the same time, the one thing I'm curious on is what does that mean for Dragon Age?
I just want it.
I mean, yes, I do
It
too.
could be.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't even want to jinx it, but it's just like if I could just have it, I would be so happy.
Yeah, but as far as I'm aware of, and in all the trailers that I have seen for Dragon Age, or Dragon Age 4, which has been all of them, they've all said it's in Frostbite. And I know that they've kind of canned the multiplayer and have restarted development on it before, but I don't think they would change engines.
I found the spider hands. So I'm just posting it.
Oh, let me see it.
In the Discord, so Tucker can see
Okay.
I want to see
exactly
this.
what this is. So are you excited?
Always.
Oh, you have to get the gif of it, though. You have to get the gif of it moving.
It walks and it like moves its hand. It's I'll post the video as well so you can see it. It's at 3:17 in this video.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm wondering what this means for Dragon Age, because I'm really hoping they don't try to switch engines, because that pretty much means we're not getting Dragon Age till like 2026 at that point. Which, oh dear God,
Stop saying things like that.
Well, no, I'm saying I hope I hope that's not what they do.
We'll be busy with GTA 6 by then.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe.
Yeah,
and
GTA
Half-Life
6 is
3 will come
2025,
out too.
2026. We're doing it.
Yeah, but
It's happening.
But it does seem like it looks like they're keeping with Frostbite for at least Dragon Age 4. But man, are they now just gonna do like 2 separate franchises in 2 separate engines?
I don't know.
Which, I mean, I guess they already kind of do that with the Old Republic games. I mean, those are in a separate engine than Frostbite, so...
But you could understand that because it was an MMO. I will believe this because obviously playing through Inquisition, I firmly believe that it was started as an MMO, and then eventually they were just like, no, this is not going to work as an MMO. People.
I mean, there is some merit to that. There actually is merit to that, because
it's these big open maps, like huge, and there's so little to do for the most part. Like the Hissing Wastes, what is there to do in the Hissing Wastes? Pretty much
Sounds like it's a waste of time.
Boo!
Like I don't mean to rag on it. I don't blame the devs at all.
Yeah.
Certainly not the people. They weren't the people who made the decisions. But in terms of like is it an MMO or is it a single player game? But for Dragon Age to have been so very much a single player, not like dipping its toes in multiplayer, to suddenly have been pushed into, oh, you're an MMO now, and I think they must have walked that back after the MMO scene started to become very overcrowded, and huge projects were starting to just die.
From the part of the book that I read, it doesn't ever seem I don't know if it was ever a full MMO. I know that they have been wanting to implement multiplayer into Dragon Age since Dragon Age Origins. So the idea that, they want to do stuff with multiplayer in mind is not... That does check out.
I'm not opposed to all multiplayer, but certainly for the time that Inquisition was released, and obviously before then because there was the development cycle, the style of MMO that was around at the time, obviously you can do a lot more now. There's a lot more flexibility with what you can do with it now. But at that start time, I do not see that would have worked for Dragon Age. I'm not opposed to multiplayer existing, because obviously they did do the multiplayer mode, which it wasn't for me. But a lot of people seem to enjoy it, and I'm more than happy for them to get the enjoyment out of it. But
I will say
I'm just so desperate for single player content for Dragon Age. I'm just like, please just give that to me before you go work.
Boom!
On
Out comes the mobile game.
Yeah. Well,
they did that already.
Yeah, and one of the things though I'm kind of seeing though, I'm wondering if we are gonna start seeing a switch to Unreal, because if they can get like, it really has to be saying something that if they have been experimenting and working on Frostbite for, at this point, 10 years, and they're switching over to a new engine, I think there has to be a pretty good argument of, we can get a game, I think it's more has to do with the fact of, like, we can get a game out faster and probably with the same amount of quality without anywhere near the issues that we run in with when it comes to Frostbite games, that switching over to another engine is worth it. Because that is not cheap to do that. That is an incredibly expensive process from what my understanding. Like, I know...
Yeah, it's also that thing of, like, game development is a very expensive...
Yeah, development in general is expensive.
Oh, yeah.
I remember just trying to think about, like, how many millions EA must have sank into this already before they decided to... Like, even with something like Andromeda, where they were just like, they kept changing what they wanted the story to be until eventually they had, like, no time left. So the reason the combat is so good for Andromeda and why it feels so smooth and it feels very alive and visceral, I say not visceral really, but you have the jetpack and all this great stuff, is because that was the only thing they could work on.
Well, yeah.
So they just had to kind of throw Andromeda together and hope it worked, which doesn't work for a Mass Effect game.
Yeah.
You can do that for your average World War II shooter. It's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. That's the story out and gone. But the sheer volume of dialogue, and people want to go talk to everyone and investigate and just exhaust all the dialogue options. That's how people play Mass Effect games.
Oh yeah.
And how people play Dragon Age games, and people want to play them over and over again. Usually do the same romance, yes, but they want options of romances.
Yeah.
Or they want to role play okay, this is my dwarf run, I'm going to do this romance. This is my elf run, I'm going to do this romance. So that's how people play it. We invest so much time in it, and we play it over and over and over again because we want to find all the secrets and the lore and figure out this character in this thing is actually secretly this other character, and I've picked up all the clues from this, and I managed to decipher this bit of Elven from this scrap of fabric from over here. That's how people play Dragon Age. Well, at least my crowd certainly does.
Well, yeah, no.
You can totally go in and just be like, oh yeah, sure, that was fun, but I want to know everything about this universe because I love it so much.
Yeah.
And I love the characters in it. I love the storytelling in it. So just more Dragon Age.
And on the opposite end of that is 12 Minutes, a game that apparently you have.
Oh my god! Right, I'm climbing on my soapbox. Give me a sec. So
just because we do need to wrap up a little bit.
Yes. I will try to be as succinct as possible. So there's a game that just released, and it has the voice talents of James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe. Just to give you the caliber of actor they are working that they managed to get for this absolute garbage.
Wait, hold on. Say that entire lineup one more time.
James McAvoy, Professor X, Daisy Ridley, Rey from Star Wars, and Willem goddamn Dafoe were in this game, and they managed to make it just awful. So the whole premise, and bear in mind, I was super looking forward to this because I thought the premise was so interesting. The premise is you are stuck in a 12-minute time loop where you come home to your apartment and your wife is then murdered by a guy pretending to be a cop. And bear in mind, your characters involved, they don't have any names. They're just referred to as the husband, the wife, and the cop. And there's the three people in it. So he gets home. So when the cop, he murders the wife, and then the loop starts all over again. So all in all, that's a pretty compelling like mystery of like what's going on, because the cop says that the wife killed her father and that's why he's murdering her for reasons. He also wants like a pocket watch she has from her dad that apparently she took. Now on the first loop you go in and this is before you realise there is a time loop. Your wife's like, oh honey, I made you dessert and let's have a nice meal together and blah blah blah, and you can like set the table and things, and then she gives you a present, and the present is baby clothes because ta-da, she's pregnant, and it's like, oh yay, and you can react to that in certain ways, and the baby clothes, this is important, has Dahlia written on it after the name.
She's the Black Dahlia.
Yeah, Dahlia, after the name of his mother, and then the cop comes in, he kills the wife, the loop starts again. He's confused, he doesn't know what's going on, because also I think the guy was killing him when the loop reset, so he's a bit out of it. Tries to immediately like, oh honey, you and bear in mind, of course, this is very confusing from the wife's perspective, because the more loops you go through, the more shit you just barrage her with, and she's a goddamn trooper for getting on board the time loop shit as quickly as she does, seriously. But so you have to then bear in mind, you go into this with the full knowledge that your wife is pregnant. You manage to prove to her you're in a time loop. You also hide in the closet and allow your wife to be murdered in order to reveal like a secret you need to find later. So it's like, great, you just watch your wife get abused. Why not? And like, you know, it's just like the fact that like in order to progress you have to hide in the closet in order to get this information is ridiculous. But then you have to like, through one run, you have to drug your wife and your pregnant wife. And it's like, there's one ending you can get here, which is like, the coward's ending, where you just let Willem Dafoe cop murder your wife while you sit on the couch and just let him do it. It's like fucking great. She then tells during at some point.
Yeah, I was kind of excited for the game, but then when I saw the game, I was kind of let down.
She tells you that her mother was very devoted to raising her and paying attention to her, and her father felt like he didn't get enough attention, so he started sleeping with her nanny. And when the wife was a teenager, she got in a fight with him because he was frequently emotionally abusive, but then he became physically abusive, so she fired a gun at him and shot him and ran away, but she also took the watch for reasons. And then when the cop comes, you're like, oh no, she didn't kill him, she only wounded him when she shot him. And he's like, no, he died days later, so on New Year's Eve. So she shot him on Christmas Eve, that's her story, and then he died on Christmas Eve when he was shot, on New Year's Eve rather, when he was shot again. And then he kills her again, and then time loops, whatever. So the more you progress, and then at one point you have to trap the cop so he's unconscious, and then you torture him. Fun! And he reveals that, my daughter's sick and I need the watch because for medicine and stuff, and she's totally a murderer. And then you realise that, you have a photograph on the fridge of your wife from a New Year's Eve party in a city miles away from where the murder happened, so she couldn't have been the person who killed her. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, the nanny ended up having a son, my half-brother, who must have been the one to kill my dad, because the dad kept saying like, monster, over and over and over again. That was apparently his nickname for his son. Okay. And then for some reason, like some of the puzzles of this are very esoteric, but you have to present the baby clothes to the cop, and you're saying, what was the nanny's name? Because he's like, it began with a D and it's like a flower, and then you realise, the nanny was his mum, so his wife is in fact his sister, and he's knocked her up And then it's revealed that none of this is real. This entire thing is like a mind palace thing he's constructed whilst he's processing his mental breakdown, whilst trying to confront the fact that he's knocked up his sister, who doesn't know he's her brother, because it's made it very explicitly clear that she would not be fucking him if she knew he was her brother, because for some reason she doesn't recognise him when he was an adult or something. They've been separated for a while. And there's a couple of endings you can get. One is you just choose to forget and you go to bed with her and that's it. One is you tell her everything and then she tells you to get out, you know. And the other one is you go to like a mind palace version of the room where you killed your father, and you can choose to either stay with her and forget, or leave her with her never knowing why you left and leaving her with the child that you fathered with her. And at this point, Willem Dafoe voices not just the cop, but the dad as well, because the cop is in fact a metaphorical manifestation of his father, who's punishing him by killing her, and it's so fucking stupid. And he then pats you on the back and says, "I'm so proud of you, son, for fucking your sister and then leaving her while she's knocked up." And I'm sat here going like, what the fuck is this game? How did you get James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe to sign the fuck up to this shit? And like, it would be one thing if like the character writing was any good, but the characters literally never go beyond the role of husband, wife, cop, and it's just the most insanely fucked up thing for no goddamn reason. Literally anything else you could have wrapped like a murder mystery story on, and the first thing apparently the guy who made 12 Minutes went to was incest baby mind palace mental breakdown. Why? And it just has no respect for women at all. Just like women exist to suffer for the man pain of men and to progress men's story. It's like just perpetual fridging of this poor wife for the entire duration of the time loops, while she gets verbally, physically abused by everyone in her life. And bear in mind, like I said, we don't, because this is a whole mind palace bullshit, we don't know exactly how much of this is manifest, outside the fact that you definitely fucked and knocked up your sister.
It's a bit of a shame, because I was looking forward to that game.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it too, and then someone was just like, oh, it's really fucked up, and in terms of like, it's the worst game story and the worst ending in video games of the year, if not ever. And I was just like, wow, that's a hell of a title. Let's knock this out. And I was flabbergasted. Like, how do you even?
On the flip side, there is a recent game that came out called Omno that was made by, I think, like one person or a very small group of people or something like that, and it's supposed to be phenomenal. And it's supposed to be about, like, depression, I think, from what I've heard.
That sounds good. I mean, in terms of, like, there needs to be more things that deal with depression. In terms of ways that it can help people come to terms with it.
Seeker, I'm just going to let you know right now, my reaction to everything you have described is my jaw is on the ground going, what the fuck? How? Yeah. I don't... That.
Well, how do you think I felt? I got all of that in just like a bit more coherent. But I was, what the hell? All I was thinking to myself was, Jesus Christ! I hope the paycheck was really good for those actors involved, because they're way too talented for this shit.
Yeah, Jesus fucking Christ.
It's a lot to process, but just like, incest, baby, really? And this is on top of, like, bear in mind that The Medium immediately got lambasted the second it came out, because it essentially leads to the moral of, if someone has PTSD, shoot them! Kill them! They can't move past their trauma, so you might as well just kill them. And it's like, why? And the thing that was most aggravating about that game was that it so desperately wants to be the successor to Silent Hill. It basically stole the whole Two Worlds thing from Silent Hill. It desperately wants it more than anything, and it entirely misses the thematic depth of Silent Hill and why Silent Hill works just being...
It almost feels like they tried to do an M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Yeah.
And then just fucked up. Like, oh god, that...
You know when you're just like, can I don't want to like say that I would genuinely want to slap someone who made this, but I did momentarily have that instinct. Because obviously you shouldn't assault artists, but genuinely if someone presented that to me in like a writer's room, I'd be like, maybe not. Maybe we'll go with anything else. Anything at all.
Oh, I would
Before we go
100%
with
shut.
that?
I would 100% shut that down. Like, nah, fuck, no.
No. Just.
And with incest babies, is there
Incest
anything else that
babies.
y'all want to talk about before we wrap up the
entirely
podcast?
unrelated to that, but just I have a list of stuff that I wanted to rattle off here. I have been desperate for a Empire of Sin or XCOM style Marvel game, and we're getting one called Midnight Suns, and not only is it XCOM Marvel style gameplay, like slightly, there's a slightly different mechanic, but they're also doing it with you can create your own Marvel protagonist and just hang out with like Tony Stark and Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel and stuff, and I'm like, this is gonna be my shit! So I am very much hyped for Midnight Suns. I saw Hamilton last week and it was very good. So I'm very smug.
Fuck
Oh,
you.
okay.
Fuck you with love and care.
Yes, I've got to say though, the guy who played Lafayette and Jefferson, he was great as Lafayette, but my god, did he own every inch of that stage when he came on as Jefferson, just like sauntering in, just being like, right, I'm here, bitches, and this entire stage is mine. It was just, it was an absolute delight. The Wheel of Time trailer came out, and that's coming out in like November. It looks so good. I can't wait. And also the Persona 25th anniversary is this month, and I'm so hyped, but I don't know exactly when they're dropping it. So, I don't know when it is, but I will be screaming from the hills when they have Persona news, because it looks like they're going to be announcing Persona 6 at minimum. So, I'm super hyped.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well,
Tucker, you go.
Scott, do you have anything?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. Well, hope y'all enjoyed listening to the podcast. We'll be here next week.
For a
Hopefully,
woo.
probably.
Ooh, woo.
I don't know if there's anything specifically happening next week, except that the newer games are getting closer, and I'm just more and more excited. Well, the Battlefield 2042 beta, but that is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. But yeah, see y'all next week.
See ya.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh wait. This is the part where we're supposed to all say, like, you know, we have YouTube channels.
Oh shit!
Subscribe
right.
there.
God damn it.
We also got a Discord
Yeah, we do.
that Seeker manages.
And we also have a Destiny clan. If you want to join, it's accidentally casual, and you're free to hit us up in the Discord.
As you can see, we are very professional.
We're super duper professional. So good.
Yeah.
And we remember so many things. For my thing to recommend for people to check out, for those of you who love Greek mythology and webcomics, I can't recommend Lore Olympus enough. The art style. It's a slow burn of Hades and Persephone, and I'm so here for it.
I just bought a
Same here.
Ratatasker.
Have you read the most recent one?
I just bought a Ratatasker t-shirt.
You just bought a what?
I just bought a Ratatasker t-shirt.
A Ratatoska. I love Ratatoska. Ratatoska's
He's my
great.
favorite. He's my favorite mythology person.
Oh yeah, of course, because all he does is run between a giant eagle and a dragon and talk smack from one to the other. So
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
eternally pissed at each other.
He's just a little shit starter,
Oh, yeah.
and he's a little
Have you played God of
squirrel,
War?
and no.
Okay, Ratatoska
Well, yes, but-
is a rune. There's a rune you can equip, so Ratatoska like finds items for you, and he shit talks you the entire time he's doing it. It's phenomenal.
Oh, that's good.
I recommend it.
I mean, he's the messenger god
Yeah.
for Norse mythology, because he would just travel across the tree, but
Eat
Yeah.
them still.
it's a little squirrel.
No.
I love him.
Real.
He's also banging in Smite.
Oh yeah.
I like it is terrifying. Like out of the trees come this little squirrel, and people are like, "Oh, they'll just kind of ignore him." Then I dash forward and hit him with like my weapons and stuff, and
Honestly,
instantly
between,
kill him because he's an assassin character.
Yeah,
like,
honestly,
he
between
bits in, hits him, bips out.
between the Hades game, Hades Town, and Lore Olympus, and writing my own story around like Persephone being in a polyamorous relationship with the devil and a warlock, I may actually have to admit I have a problem.
Oh, hey Scott, did you ever play Tacoma?
No, I
Oh,
haven't
for
yet.
God. No,
You should play Tacoma.
no.
It is short and beautiful. You should play it.
Tucker, I will play Tacoma if you play Persona 5 Royal.
That is not a fair trade, and you know it.
No, because Persona 5 Royal is good.
So is Tacoma.
You two,
Tacoma's phenomenal.
you're both
Keep our
beautiful.
eyes better.
Stop arguing.
I wasn't arguing. It's
Um,
just my game suggestion is like a 2-hour long game with a very
Persona 5
fun.
Royal is definitely
Okay.
prettier. can
I
tell
also
you
do
that.
have a recommendation. It is a smaller content creator. It's a friend of mine from one of my Discord group. Nibble Toes Plays. She does a bunch of
I
different.
thought you said nipple toes.
No, God, no.
Oh,
Nimble
that's
Toes
weird.
Plays. Nimble.
Nimble Toes.
Oh.
Man, could you imagine having nipples on your toes?
No!
You just be walking
Nimble, I'm
around
so
with like
sorry.
little like.
No.
I'm so sorry.
What if it gets?
I meant
What if
to
it gets
just-
cold?
Bonk with the horny stick. No.
Oh my god! If it's
No.
oh my god! If it's cold, they act like
Stop it.
like
Stop.
sweets or something in the snow, and you could just like start sprinting
Tell
like
me
you got
what
grip
you
on
do.
it.
I just wanted to give you a simple shout out. Let people know that, hey, you do awesome Let's Plays of a bunch of different games. They're fun. They're fabulous. Everyone, please go subscribe to her channel.
I will
But-
have to go like and subscribe just to make up for that.
Please.
awful
Like udders
nonsense
on her
that Tucker
toes.
just
Stop
used.
it. Stop it. Okay.
Yeah,
Do you know what?
stop.
No, we're stopping it now.
Nimble
All right, guys.
Toes.
All right.
This is the proper end of the podcast.
Okay. Well, shit. Thank
Hope
you
y'all
guys.
have a good night.
Bye.